Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Casual Mark Podcast. I am Mike Murtis, and we are here with a new wrestling podcast, something a little bit different from all you folks. You don't have to know every single thing about the business in order to know what the hell we're talking about. If you're the casual fan, you'll enjoy it, and maybe if you're a smart Mark too, you'll know it as well. We're going to have fun on this podcast, but you know what? I'm not going to do it myself because it's just not fun talking to yourself, playing with yourself, all that good stuff. So we got a wonderful team of people from different wrestling experience, and why don't we start with on my left here? Go ahead and introduce yourself, mystery man.
My name is Nikos Cosmopoulos. I've been a very long-time wrestling fan, so...
I thought you were going to say you've been a very naughty boy, and this things were about to get very scary.
Well, I'm always a naughty boy, Mike. But.
And on my right here, who do we got?
You have the one and only Matt Murtis.
And Matt's been on a number of stuff. If you folks follow my other podcasts, some of my other content, then you know that Matt is my little brother, and we've been back and forth with a lot of things. And we have a special guest with us here today.
He's special.
I'm special.
Very special.
Frank O'Laughlin sitting in.
Hello, Frank. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. How about yourself?
Very, very nice. We're going to get this thing going. So, in order to get a real good audio-visual sense of exactly who your hosts are, I figured we could kind of go around the panel here and talk about some of our first wrestling memories, why exactly we want to do this podcast. Any takers as far as who wants to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Why not? Ready? Alrighty, well, like I said, my name is Nikos Cosmopoulos. Started watching wrestling a long time ago with my WWE videos from the movie store. Such classics as WrestleMania 1, 4, 7, SummerSlam 89, 90, 91. As we all know, those had some really terrible main events. Mm-hmm. But wrestling nonetheless. I've always been a Hulkamaniac since I can remember. Had the good fortune of getting to watch the Attitude Era. It was a good time. I wanted to do the podcast because I finally found some friends who actually enjoy watching wrestling, so that was a good thing.
It's always good. Mm-hmm. All right, Matt, I'll let you take the top honors here for next.
Well, I would have to say similar to Nikos is going to the video store and picking up WWF pay-per-views on VHS, but
Coliseum home video.
Yes.
Terrible stuff.
I was actually on the other side when it came to the whole Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars. I actually grew up watching WCW. My best friend at the time used to record each Nitro and every wrestling event for WCW and would pass the tape off to me for me to watch. So, so I've been watching wrestling probably since the age of 6, 8 years old. So, long time wrestling fan.
Very long time.
Didn't the Attitude Era start well before he was 6? I mean,
No. Attitude Era.
You're a baby.
You know what? We're kicking out the special guest.
Yeah.
He can get out. He's done already.
So Frank, I'm actually really curious to hear about your pro wrestling origins because, me and you have been to shows, we've been to independent shows, we've spent many, many hours at work chatting about wrestling. We should probably be doing something else. So what got what got you started in pro wrestling?
Before since we're gonna take jabs, Frank used to watch CMW. Caveman Wrestling.
Yeah, I did.
Caveman Wrestling.
And actually, I don't even know I'm here. I was just walking by, and you guys asked me why I step in. No. Mike, it's really, I guess that's a great question for me, being the senior member of the team here. I can go back to watching Saturday Night Fights, on like channel WGN in the 70s. Mm-hmm. So just always a wrestling fan. My grandfather, my dad, we all kind of watched that stuff, and then as it got bigger, and cable got into play, and you got more and more involved with it, and WCW. I'm with Maddie in that I was a WWE fan for a long time, but then when WCW kicked in, it was the coolest thing on the planet, and I actually went over that way until it merged back. So,
now, question for all three of you guys: growing up watching wrestling, how apparent was it to you that wrestling was fixed? It wasn't real, per se. I mean, people say wrestling's fake, and yeah, it's fake to a degree where the finishes are predetermined, and these guys you're protecting your opponent. It's not like MMA where you're legitimately kicking the crap out of each other. But for all three of you, we can kind of go from left to right. When did that moment happen where you go, okay, this isn't real? Just like my parents told me Santa Claus isn't real anymore, this stuff is real. And what did you think? Like, were you shocked? Were you horrified? Nikos?
I don't know if I was necessarily shocked. I mean, I was under the impression that the outcomes were more than likely fixed. But like you said, the actual hitting and stuff is not fake. I mean, those guys actually do get hurt. So, I mean, it wasn't really a big shock to me that it was fake, or fake quotations.
I mean, I don't even really remember when I found out that wrestling wasn't, real. For me, it was always entertaining with the characters. So I don't think, maybe at a point I thought they were really beating the crap out of each other, but I mean, as I grew into watching wrestling, it was more or less the stories that they were telling in the ring, not so much, if it's real or if it's fixed.
Frank's shaking his head, so I imagine he's got similar thought.
Yeah, I got to go with Matt on that one. I think growing up, I mean, and I'm going back to the 70s where you had really bad TVs, so you didn't know if it was real or not. I mean, you thought it was real, because you couldn't see, like, you watch it on high def now, you see them missing each other. I mean, you can tell it's fake.
Well, you can hear Cena calling his moves.
Yeah, exactly.
Fifth row.
My 8-year-old sits and watches it and goes, "Dad, it's fake, right?" And I'm like, well, yeah, to a degree. I mean, they're athletes. They're doing one heck of a show for you, but I guess it was more the storylines and all that I was really following more so than the actual wrestling.
See, that's interesting, because when I was a little kid, my sister's boyfriend at the time was a big wrestling fan, and that was my gateway into what professional wrestling was seeing him watch. It probably wasn't Raw. It was probably like Saturday night's main event, but it was WWF.
Right.
And to me, maybe I was just too young, maybe I was a dumb kid, I don't know, but it seemed as real as it could be to me. And what is like one of the memories that sticks out in my head the most, it was right in the middle of the Macho Man and Hulk Hogan feud, right before they had their WrestleMania match where they were, Miss Elizabeth was, supposedly with Hogan, and in the middle of all this. Well, at one point, there, Mean Gene Okerlund's out there, and he's talking to Macho Man, and he's in the middle of the aisle, and this kid comes up to him, Macho Man screaming at this kid, and this kid's like challenging him and telling, oh, Macho Man, Hulk Hogan's gonna kick your butt, and Macho Man's like, oh, you take your vitamins, do you follow Hulk Hogan, you say your prayers and all that stuff. Tell you what, why don't I take you out back and we'll see if Hulk Hogan comes and saves your hide then. And it was like, he really took him backstage, and you didn't see this kid ever again. That was my first wrestling memory, and my first thought after he took that kid is, Macho Man just took that kid out back and killed him.
Ooh, he snapped him like a Slim Jim. Yeah.
So Macho Man for the longest time scared the crap out of me. But he watched. My sister's boyfriend, a huge Ultimate Warrior fan, so a little bit of wrestling there, but it never really bit me until Matt started getting WCW tapes from his friend across the street, and he was watching, tons of Monday Night Nitros, and started to get the videotapes from the store. And my initial reaction to it is, I started thinking about, Macho Man scared the crap out of me. At some point I realized, it's fake, it's not real. And I was like, why are they wasting their time watching it? And it was like, I don't know what it was that made me go, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch this. okay, I've been watching 2 hours of this. Okay, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. Now I'm watching the tapes every week, and it's like next thing you know, I'm, working matches and knowing the backstage politics of things and knowing way too much than your regular fan should,
know.
and in a sense ruining the business for myself, because it's like now I can't take it for face value, which is something I really miss. So that's kind of my wrestling origin story, because after the Monday Night Wars, I was hooked. I really was.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of our host introductions as far as what our pro wrestling backgrounds are. And why don't we talk about what we are going to have on the show this month, now that you know a little bit about our pro wrestling history. Got a lot of great stuff for you this month. We got little talks about CM Punk as far as what's going on with him, his new venture, a few of his comments on the Art of Wrestling podcast, and kind of the shockwave that whole thing sent through the entire pro wrestling business. We got TLC pay-per-view predictions. That's this Sunday. Should be pretty interesting. We're also going to talk about a local wrestling indie outfit that we have. We actually just came from that show, very awesome show, Premier Pro Wrestling. Talk a little bit about what they're about. Maybe you can check out some of their stuff online. We're also going to talk about WrestleMania 31. We are going to fantasy book the main event for WrestleMania 31, picking two talents. Hey, maybe some of you guys want to do a triple threat or fatal four-way match.
Threat.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. But I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts on what your WrestleMania 31 event would be. And you guys can't put yourselves in the WrestleMania 31 event.
Dang.
We're also going to talk about NXT TakeOver, Our Evolution, which was an incredible pay-per-view. We'll get more on that. And then we ride off into the sunset until next month. So, let's move along, shall we?
Let's do this.
All right, so we are going to talk about segment 2 of the show. My personal favorite has been for a very long time. I've watched him in the WWE. I witnessed his very last match in ROH and watched him slowly climb to the top and slowly get screwed over pay-per-view after pay-per-view, not main eventing with the World Heavyweight Championship when he should have.
Rock Cena was way better than that, though. You know it.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm not going to go full-blown. There are some matches that I can understand why they main evented. Okay, Royal Rumble is always last. I understand that. But when you have John Cena versus John Laurinaitis and Punk goes on before that, what the hell?
Agreed.
Okay, out of his championship reign, he only headlined 5 of 17 pay-per-views.
That's insane.
How does that justify the championship? It doesn't. Anyways.
It justifies it because, I mean, he was champion for over 300 days.
400.
400. Still. Okay, 400. That's a long time.
It is.
So does it matter if you are in the beginning of the card or the main event? Does it make that much of a huge difference?
I believe it does. Because, okay, your championship is supposed to be the main focus of the show. When Cena was champion, he always headlined the show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So what makes it any different for Punk not to headline the show?
But the only thing I would say to you on that, Matt, is let's look back at the last WrestleMania we watched. I mean, there were better matches that kept us going to that last match. I mean, in the last match, I can't even think of the last WrestleMania that when we watched it, but there were matches that kept me going because they were much better than the final card. I mean, I wouldn't have been there for the end had it not been for the better matches during.
And let me throw one more thing at you. The last 3 pay-per-views we've had, have we had a world title match at all?
No.
No.
That's going to be a segment for next month.
Don't even get me
Don't
started.
get me started. Yeah,
And the non-fighting champ
right.
that he is.
Yeah.
Special
We're not gonna
attraction.
Yeah.
Special attraction, my ass.
But I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off there. Keep going.
So, but no, I think we should just kind of dive right into what he said on the podcast, on the Art of Wrestling podcast. So,
And for you casual fans who are not familiar with what the Art of Wrestling podcast is, it is a podcast hosted by Colt Cabana. He's wrestled all over the world, very popular in ROH, the indie scene. He did some dark matches for WWE. He was a part of WWE for probably less than a year as Scotty Goldman. Terrific wrestler, very cool guy. I've met him a number of times. If you haven't listened to the CM Punk podcast or haven't checked out Colt Cabana, period, you really should give it a listen. Really great stuff there. So, yeah, he was on the Art of Wrestling podcast. And, Nikos, I know you had a lot to say about this particular podcast.
I did. Personally, myself, I love the podcast. I don't know. I thought it was awesome. I've always liked CM Punk. He's pretty much the main reason why I got back into wrestling around circa 2011 when his pipe bomb was dropped. So I have a lot of respect for CM Punk. I like the stuff that he did, and my favorite point of his podcast was how much he just ripped right into Triple H. Like no qualms, and just went right at him. Especially talking about how he ruined his push in 2011, where he made him lose to him in that no disqualification at was it Night of Champions, I think.
And then shoved Kevin Nash on him the following.
Yep. So I mean, a lot of his points were justified. I don't see any reason for CM Punk to have to lie about a lot of that stuff, especially the stuff about the medical, like the care, like the lack of care, shall I say, for the doctors for CM Punk. And I'm sure that made you happy, man.
It's just a fatty mass.
Yeah, I know. My staph infection.
I guess what point, though, do you see this big-ass growth on the back of you? And I know he got a second opinion eventually, and he found out that it was MRSA, and that if he didn't get it taken care of, he very well would have died. He should have been dead.
Should have been dead, yeah.
By all regular terms. At what point do you go, I've had this thing for 3 months, I've been taking antibiotics for 3 months, I've shit my pants on TV, and go, maybe it's time for a second opinion now? I mean, how long would you guys wait for something like that? Do you take the advice of your doctor?
Well, yeah, you would like to think that the WWE doctors know what they're talking about.
Nah.
I mean,
well, that and when you pride yourself on something as much as he did, it was a constant drive for him. I mean, even towards the end there, he was unhappy, but he was still trying to prove that he was the best for business at that time. So I think part of it was his own pride getting in the way of his own health.
I agree with you there. I think at some point, and we've all run into this in our lives, may it be at work, where your boss says, hey, I need you to come in and do whatever on a weekend, and you got something going on with family, and you say no, and he goes, well, you better come in. And at some point, you just got to say, I'm not doing this. This is going to affect my well-being, and I'm not doing this. And like you said, though, the pride gets, or fear for losing your position, fear for losing your job, getting looked over, and that's a tough situation to be put in.
Tough, but I think at a certain point you also have to look at it and go, I'm not healthy.
Well, he did.
Well, but I mean, 3 months.
yeah,
right?
he looked bad.
He was looking bad towards the end. And you have to wonder if some of the problems he was having weren't due to the amount of antibiotics he was, the MRSA taking control on him, and him fighting. I mean, that's some nasty stuff that you're fighting there.
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be a point where you go, yeah, I'm the best in the world, but man, there's something wrong with me.
Right. How legitimate do you think his comments are about Ryback? Do you think Ryback purposely tried to hurt him?
I don't say purposely, but
Or is it just he's green?
He's green.
He's green. I didn't. Well, a couple of people called him Greenback before Punk even did. So, I mean, there was a couple of matches that I saw with Ryback where it's just like you need to settle down and relax and think about what you're doing, because I've seen some pretty nasty bumps taken by his opponents. So, I don't think it was intentional, but I do believe he hurt him.
Well, once he worked with him the first time, he said he didn't think he was safe,
Right.
and they fed him to
Right.
Ryback again.
And then I'm sure you guys saw the image online with him going through that table. He missed half the table.
Exactly.
How the hell do you do that? I mean, it's big enough that you could throw him through the middle of it, and he totally misjudged where it was at. Now, did he do it on purpose?
It's the cross-eyed thing he's got going. Sorry.
Frank, feed me more.
I think one of the big things that I could understand Punk being upset about is paydays. Especially when it came to him talking about the Undertaker match he had at that was WrestleMania 29.
Yeah, stole the show.
Yeah, stole the show. I mean, I think all of us watched WrestleMania 29 together, and that Punk Taker match was probably the only match worth watching mostly on that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Bar none, it was the top match. And one of his biggest gripes was he did not get paid the money he should have been paid for that match. Triple H, Vince McMahon, everyone's telling him, we should have put that match on last. Yeah. It was that good.
And then pay him like he should have been on last.
And they didn't.
Right.
So I can understand some of the frustrations there. Other thing is, too, I mean, when you're feeling that unhealthy, you're feeling that much pressure, the sickness is kicking in, the pain's kicking in, you have concussions and everything else, and you don't do drugs, that's got to be 40 times as rough. Prime example of someone who was insanely injured, wasn't happy with creative, just super unhappy, period, Shawn Michaels. No one wanted to work with him. People hated him. They couldn't understand him. He's coping. He had alcohol and God knows what else to do it to get him through. So it's funny because, Michaels was worse off because he was abusing substances, but CM Punk was probably 40 times worse personally just because it's like, well, I'm not going to drink.
Yep.
I'm not going to, take overdose of painkillers. Yeah. I mean, I'm already dealing with these antibiotics and they're messing up with it. So it's kind of interesting. If he was healthy, didn't get those concussions, what kind of mindset would he have been in, and would things end up differently?
Great question. That is a great question.
You guys got anything else to hit on his podcast?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. As a fan, and I even tweeted this, I didn't need an explanation. Was it cool that I got one? Yeah, definitely, but I never needed one. There was a reason why he left, and I was just curious to see what his next adventure was going to be.
So, did any of you think you were owed an explanation? Period?
Not really.
Yeah.
But like Matt said, I enjoyed the fact that I did get to hear why.
Were you pissed off, or any of you pissed off that he left? At him? At the WWE?
I actually, since he left, I really haven't been keeping up with wrestling as much. And I mean, Daniel Bryan was kind of keeping me going as far as that, but then he got hurt, and now it's just like they're trying, but they go from shock and awe to the next Monday Night Raw is I just wasted 3 hours of my life. So,
we've had a few Monday Night Raws lately that are a waste of 3 hours of your life. There's no maybe there.
So I don't know if I was exactly mad, but maybe a little disappointed.
I was pissed off. I will fully admit that I was pissed off because from my standpoint, till I heard exactly what happened, I took it as, okay, here's a guy that was given the title, the world title, and got to run with it. Matt said over 400 days. And, yeah, he didn't headline pay-per-views, but he was the guy. He was on all the Raws. He was the guy. He was the guy who dropped the pipe bombs, and the company was running with it instead of saying, you know what, we could just have Triple H keep burying you. Yep. To me, after having all that, and then he lost the belt, he kind of had to deal with Heyman and stuff, it almost felt like, I'm not going to win the main event at Royal Rumble. I'm done. I'm not happy with this. I'm not going to be the top guy in the picture. Screw this. I don't want to do it anymore. So, obviously things went quiet for a very, very long time, and we know now because of legal reasons, because he was suspended, and he almost didn't know what was going on any more than we did.
Right.
So him coming out and saying exactly what happened made me feel a lot better, and I can fully man up to the point that, yeah, if I were sitting in a room across from CM Punk, I would tell him, I'm sorry. I thought you simply left and said, screw you guys.
Well, and it wasn't the first time, Mike, too. I mean, that was part of the problem. I mean, you and I had talked several times about where did he go, why did he leave? Was it another one of his contract disputes where he's walking away again until he gets the money he wants? And to get that explanation, at least, as to what occurred, I think it makes it a better deal all the way around. Well, at least you know now. But at the same token, remember, it's a one-sided what we know. It's what he's saying happened. We still don't know the WWE side either.
And that's actually a good segue because we got a little bit of the other side of the story. Stone Cold Steve Austin was actually on the WWE Network doing a podcast, one of his podcasts with Vince McMahon. It was live. It was very upfront. It was probably the most revealing interview I've seen done with Vince McMahon ever.
Oh, yeah.
And Steve Austin went right for the jugular and was...
He didn't pull no punches. And I was just like... I mean, actually, it felt like he was really poking Vince on it because I think he's been in that position before, like Shawn Michaels had been. So it was almost like, yeah, screw you. I'm going to ask you this question just to be an asshole. And it really intrigued me watching that whole session. They did such a great job on it.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Well, what bothered me about the part of the Stone Cold Vince was getting on CM Punk. It was Vince. I felt like Vince's half-assed apology to him, saying that it was a coincidence that we fired you on your wedding day. Well, the two whatever parts of the company, coincidence. It wasn't a coincidence. I mean, they did that to him on purpose. I think personally, I don't.
Yeah, how do you accidentally overnight something knowing that guy's getting married the next? Oh, it was part of the legal.
Some say Vince may not have been directly involved with it. Maybe it was Triple H. Who knows?
I think it was Triple H.
Definitely wasn't an accident.
No.
So do you guys agree with CM Punk where he thought that Vince apologizing for that happening on his wedding day was a publicity stunt?
Yeah.
Do you think Vince...
Saving his butt.
So there was, to you guys, no legitimacy in Vince apologizing?
I think I don't think he wasn't, partially apologizing. He is. I'm sure he is sorry because
that's a lot of money gone.
Right. I mean,
you got to remember too. You're doing damage control too.
Yeah.
At a certain point. I mean, at a certain point, the Twitter world and all that world is going, what the hell? You fired him on his wedding day.
Right.
Vince has got to make a
right.
statement.
He's got to back.
He's got to say, well, we didn't mean for that to happen.
Right.
I mean, that's damage control.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I don't think it wasn't an apology, but it
wasn't sincere.
Right.
In my
Not
opinion.
completely. Like Punk said, call him. You don't have to do it over a podcast.
Part of me
Text
thinks
him.
that Vince dreads patching holes up with people. Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Bruno Sammartino, Savage. All of those people I've mentioned, for the majority of them, who did the patchwork to get
JR, Triple H.
Triple H, and then they kind of come together after that because that person is back with the WWE and they patch things over there. Brock Lesnar, another huge thing, and who was the center man for that?
Paul Heyman.
Well, JR the first time.
Well, JR the first time, but
because if you guys recall, Lesnar left, NFL didn't work out. Lesnar went, crap, I signed this insane non-compete contract that won't let me do anything. He met with Vince, thanks to JR, similar to Stone Cold Steve Austin. JR got those guys to come back over again, and JR told him, I think you should sign back on with us. The Vince is letting this no-compete go. I think, it's you learned your lesson in NFL. It's not going to work out. Come sign a contract with us again. And Brock said, no thanks. There's one other thing I want to try. Went on, became the UFC champion. Matt was so happy when he became the UFC champion. Right, Matt?
no. I really didn't care for Lesnar, actually. I mean, at first, I was into it, but he lost his magic with me. I mean,
why though?
The foreplay was okay, but
the
then when
foreplay
stuff
was
started
okay.
getting rough, you were out of there.
It started getting to the real business. I'm like, not anymore.
Suddenly, I'm not into this,
Yeah.
especially when he started doing the bouncing around thing. Heyman walked in. Man, we're going off on a tangent here. Any more to talk about on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast regarding Punk? We're good there. Well, I guess my last statement with the UFC works out then, because Punk.
That's where I thought you were segueing, man.
If I could go back in time, we'll edit it. We'll edit it in post. I don't know, but
We fix it in post.
yeah. Punk pulled a Brock, and he has now signed with UFC. Now, I'm not going to lie and say I'm not interested in this, but I'm interested into it for a multitude of reasons. Well, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
Why is it pulling a Brock? That's why you were laughing, because you knew I was going there.
I knew you couldn't handle it.
Would you rather me say pulling a Shamrock? Because Shamrock was a pro
She's
wrestler
original,
before.
yeah.
That would be more fair.
Okay. What if I call it a Shamrock Shake?
Okay.
Those are good.
Yeah, those are good. They still got them.
I
No.
hope so.
No. Well, they will in March.
Yeah.
Well, we got a while to go, folks.
Sweet.
Our March episode of this is going to be titled "The Shamrock Shakedown."
Sponsored by Shamrock Shakes.
But anyway, Punk has gone ahead and signed a deal with Ultimate Fighting, and it is quite interesting. And Nikos, what are your first thoughts on this?
Personally, myself, I'm not a fan of UFC. I've never watched a full fight before. I've never had interest, but to be honest with you, I will watch for CM Punk. I just hope he doesn't get knocked out in the very first 10 seconds of the match, because then he has to rethink everything at that point. What was he going to do? Come begging back to Triple H? Can I have my job back once he gets knocked out in 10 seconds? So, I hope that doesn't happen.
Man's doing a slow burn.
I know, but I'll root for him. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know.
We might need
I'm
a
not.
wall
I'm not a
between you
fan
two.
of. I'm not a fan of UFC. So good luck to Punk. But segue to Matt.
To Matt, what's wrong with you?
Is that too much kickstart? I'm in trouble.
Go crawling back to Triple H. Yeah, right. I can't believe you said that.
Hey, I'm just
disgusted.
throwing it out there.
I'm so disgusted.
What's he gonna do?
I'm
He gets
just-
knocked out in
He's
the
got
first 10
comic books.
seconds.
He's
always got comic books.
Comic books. He's got plenty of other things he can get into.
He can go to Bellator.
What if he can't write? Then what is he gonna do?
That's true.
We'll find out when.
All
true.
day and
Yeah,
all night.
exactly.
True.
Come on.
You know,
They broke my dick. He was targeted. They Nancy carried
oh,
him.
jeez.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
I mean that in the nicest way, though. By the way, crawling
I
back to Triple
know,
H.
I know. No, there is no
On his
nice.
knees.
There is no nice way of saying that or being nice about. There's just no.
Okay.
No. Anyways, I've watched UFC in the past. I actually watched some of the first UFC matches on videotape that got banned because they literally just stuck them in the cage and guys beat the shit out of each other. There was no weight classes. They just clobbered each other. Yep. So, I mean, I didn't watch it too much. And then as time went on, guys like George St. Pierre came along. So I was interested a little bit in the MMA. I watched some of his fights and, some of the other ones. It was on, was it FX, I think?
Probably Spike.
Spike TV.
It was on Spike, but I think some of the fights were on FX too. So I would watch it from time to time. Punk being in the UFC, one, he's got a Kempo background, so he's got that on his side. Two, he's been training with the Gracies, on and off, so he's got that going for him. I'll kill you. If you could just see the snide grin on my brother's face. And I'm going to go back to a point that you made. Okay.
Boys.
You said that, Shawn Michaels was medicating like crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
So CM Punk's going to medicate like
No.
crazy for UFC?
No.
He's going to weigh like 300 pounds?
Think about it. He's cracked his skull open before, and when he got it checked out, and he had a cracked skull, okay? for someone that's not going to take drugs or any pain medications, you got to be pretty tough in the first place.
Unless you get hit by Ryback.
Yeah. And then you're just a
There's
baby
okay,
at
and
that point.
that's gonna segue into my next thing. You don't intend to get kicked in wrestling that hard in WWE. You don't sit there and plan a match. Hey, Ryback, I got an idea. Why don't you kick me in the fucking ribs as hard as you can? Okay.
Hey, GSP, why don't you kick me in the ribs?
Right. So, I mean, you're gonna train differently for a actual fight. Thanks, Frank.
I'm sorry. I love you, man. I do.
But training for a fight is very different from being in a fight.
True, no doubt.
Brock Lesnar.
No, well,
I
okay.
keep bringing him up, and I know you cringe every time I bring it up. His first fight, he lost ankle submission. He made one mistake.
Right. It was one mistake, but
That's all it takes.
Right. Okay, but he had his wrestling background,
Right.
and he got thrown to a veteran in there, and he did make that one mistake, but he did very well for himself in that fight.
Yep.
So I think it's kind of hard for people to say, oh, he was a fake wrestler, he's going to get his ass beat. Punk already said, I'm going to do this either to A, kick someone's ass, or B, get my ass kicked. I don't think Dana White would sign a multi-fight deal with him if he didn't think he was going to be capable of pulling it off. I think he would stick him in one match just to see him get obliterated
put him against
and
someone
be
real
done.
good.
Because then you're going to satisfy all the people that want to see him get his ass kicked. You're going to draw all the people that want to see him win. So, I mean, it's give and take there.
Frank, I know you kind of cringed when I told you that he signed on UFC. What are your sentiments on this?
I mean, well, and you and I have joked, and I mean, it is the running joke, is that the first time he gets hit, he's going to go, holy shit, they actually hit here. What, you can't hit.
That's not how you work a punch.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, what the hell was that? I cringed only because, I mean, it's hardcore over there. I mean, there's no maybe. And while the wrestlers that we watch day to day, you know, are extremely great athletes, this is a different world. And I don't. It's not that I don't think Punk can handle it, because I think he can. It's just I'm cringing until I see that first fight.
Yep,
and
here.
Once I don't want to see he's got to prove himself to me again, but in a way he's got to prove himself to me again. I mean,
yeah,
great
definitely.
wrestler.
Yep.
How is he as a real fighter? You know, that's a wrestler is a whole different animal than a real fighter. And until I see that first match, once I see that first match, Maddie, I'll probably be going,
Right.
I owe you one. I'm sorry. I apologize completely.
Well, that's another thing too. You know, look at all the time Punk invested into wrestling and what made him the best. He doesn't just say, I'm going to do this and then do it half-assed. He goes full-blown. So I don't think he's going... I think it's going to be a good fight. He's going to train as hard as he possibly can, and he's going to do it until he thinks he's ready, and then it's going to be go time.
Well, like you said, it's obviously big money.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big draw to this. Whoever they stick Punk with, this is a big draw.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, Punk gets knocked out. Is the draw done? Will anyone care after that, or will it be similar to Lesnar, where people went, we knew that a pro wrestler couldn't do anything, and then Lesnar came back and said, oh yeah, I'm going to win the championship, and he did. Is it going to be a similar situation?
It's hard to say.
It'll all be based off that first fight.
It will
Yep.
be. It will be based off that first fight, unfortunately. And I mean, and anything could happen. It might not be Punk getting knocked out. It could go to decision.
Right.
It could be a submission. I mean, there's so many different ways it could happen. And for people to think that they're going to throw the fight,
I don't know where people even
Yeah, I don't
get
know,
that
yeah.
from.
that was...
I mean,
People are saying it's fixed.
Okay.
you
Okay.
don't fix MMA.
Right. You
There's
do.
no
You
fixing
can't.
MMA.
You can't.
I've never
If-
watched this shit, and I know it's not fake.
if you were to fix an MMA fight, you might as well be WWE then.
What's the difference?
Right, exactly. What's
And
the
it would
difference?
hurt.
Oh, it'd kill it.
Okay,
everything.
it would kill. It would kill the whole UFC, and everyone would be
Bellator,
like,
everything.
right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, okay,
no
yeah.
credibility at all.
Sure.
Bellator, whatever it's called. Oh, a Bellator.
Bellator.
It's something I can drink.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can understand where Justin LeBar came from Chair Shot Reality, where
the guy's taking too many chair shots.
Yeah, he
if he's
must
saying
be.
it's fixed.
well, no, he's not saying it is fixed. He said they should fix it.
Well, like, do you mean
They should
Do you mean
fix
like?
it.
Do you mean like they're gonna feed him someone he can beat, like pretty
Either
easily?
that or
like,
they're no. Like he was saying, either pay off the fighter or pay off the judges.
See what?
Okay, so
the
exactly.
craziest thing
yeah,
I've ever
okay.
heard.
Do that.
Now,
Exactly.
When I heard that, I was like,
Let's feed him some chump.
"Are
and he can
you
just kick
are you
the shit
kidding
out
me?"
of.
And I can understand where he's coming from in the position of to make money off of Punk to
I'm
do
so
that.
besides myself
I know.
right now.
I know.
can't believe this.
I was too, and I could understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, I'm like, no. And if you were to do it, you would have to pay off the judges, and to get to the judges, you're gonna have to go to a decision. Is Punk gonna last 3 rounds? No, but okay, if you pay off the
Can
fighter,
you say no?
Yeah, we are recording.
I said-
right?
I said-
Bring that back.
Yeah.
Rewind that.
I'm saying no if he doesn't go the 3 rounds. Just shut up. You're sitting awful close to me. But
Need a fourth mic, please.
Wireless mic get necessary.
you just
A 5 mic splitters on the way.
you can't do that. It would ruin the legitimacy of the UFC if you tried to do that.
And I think you're exactly right, Matt. I think we all know what we're doing when we're watching wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
there's no maybe.
Right.
We know what
Right.
we're doing. We know
Yeah.
that there's going to be an ending. We're hoping we get a good show.
Yep.
We definitely see matches where guys phone it in. Punk has never been one to ever phone it in. He gives his all.
Right.
But MMA is a whole different animal.
It is.
You're watching a fight.
Yep.
It's no different than watching a boxing match.
Yep.
You're watching people who are out to kill each other, basically.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And to fix that, I mean, boxing lost huge amounts of fan base in the, I want to say it was the 70s, to the amount of fixed fightings.
Right.
So why would you do that to
Right.
something as big as MMA? It wouldn't make any sense. It's
Right.
stupid.
I mean, and Dana White's very, very intelligent. The last thing he would do is take greed over sacrificing everything he's built
Yeah, exactly.
over the years
That's
to
very true.
fix one fight.
That's very
He
true.
didn't fix Lesnar's fights. He's taken a chance on Punk.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, even I don't remember which UFC fighter said who said it, but he said every couple years Dana gets an idea and he's like, it's a circus act, and he gives someone a chance and sees how they do. Either it's sink or swim.
Well, like you said about the fixing of the matches, didn't Lesnar get his ass kicked his
No,
very
actu-
last match?
Well,
Like his very last
his
one
very-
before he
I'm-
left? Like,
he may have.
I thought
but
he
was
was sick, though,
He was,
right?
yeah.
That's he hit the stomach thing.
Right,
Yeah,
he had
yeah.
the stomach thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, his first match, he did very well
good.
for himself. He just he got himself caught.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like everyone's saying, it's going to come down to Punk's match.
It's that first
it's
match.
that first match. It really
It
is.
goes from there.
All right, so I got a
think he wins,
proposition
though.
for you here, Nico.
Sure.
Okay. You're Dana White.
okay.
Punk wins his first match.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go from there?
Well, it depends on what class he fights in, I guess. I don't know a lot about UFC, so I'd have to ask these guys. But I don't know. I wouldn't say he gets a title shot, but depending on what class he's in, I mean, he can move up and face one of the, the top guys in that class. If he has to prove himself, though. He can't scrape out, I don't know, personally, he can't scrape out like a decision against some nobody. I mean, he either has to knock the guy out, and I think then you can move him on to someone better.
So if there's a number of matches that Punk would have to prove to you to win, how many would it be before you'd give him a title fight?
At least 3 or 4
Okay.
against good competition, though. It can't be 3 or 4 jobbers, guys that he just CM Punk's gonna beat this guy. He has to beat some credible fighters
Yep.
to get a title shot, in my opinion. But I don't know how all that works over there. So
Right. Right.
Well, and I think you have to have that first fight.
Mm-hmm.
CM Punk's already a name. He's already a known entity, a known quantity. That first fight can't be against a low guy on the totem pole. It's got to be a mid-range guy, period. That first fight. It's got to be minimally a mid-range guy. Do you agree, Matt? You can't put him against one of the low guys.
No, you
can't. If he beats him, they're going to go, of course he can beat him.
Exactly.
Well,
if it's a mid-range, good, solid fighter, and he beats him or he loses, they're going to say it was a decent fight.
right. I can see both sides of that, but is it really fair to stick him in a fight with someone that already has some experience when this is his first actual fight?
Yeah, I think he's got
good point.
He's got
no
experience.
MMA record
Right.
whatsoever. He's
So-
starting out 0-0.
Right.
He's a virgin, ready to get his MMA cherry popped.
Right. So how do you...
But you're going to use. But you're going
Cherry
to use
poppin'.
that. You're going to use that for an event, right? You're going to use that for an event.
Yeah.
You put him against somebody who's a no-name, it's gonna go ugly. I'm not saying put him against the top in his class.
Just somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the mid-range. Do not put him against one of those low guys. I mean, he knows how to wrestle. He knows how to move in a ring. All the other things he does, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and all that.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a decent shot at a mid-range guy. You put him against the bottom of the barrel guy, it's a laugh. It's a joke. Then it is a fix, if you want to put it that way.
Okay.
It is a fix.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying earlier.
I can see that too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say someone that has a 0-0 record. Maybe put him up against a new face that's doing well for himself. That's maybe 3-0 or 3-1 or something like that.
And that's what I'm saying. A mid-range guy, not
Right.
brand new out of the box, but a mid-range guy.
I will definitely say that the last time I was interested in watching UFC was when Brock Lesnar signed a contract with them, because it's something good. It's something good for the pro wrestling business.
It is.
So many people look at pro wrestling in a way where all these guys do is fake stuff. They wouldn't survive in a real fight. Couldn't do anything to save their welfare. If they were stuck in a back finale, they'd get their ass kicked.
Yep.
When Brock came to UFC and he started fighting, even when he lost his first match, people went, whoa, this is a guy that can do it. The weird thing was you look at Brock Lesnar and you don't go, okay, yeah, I don't think that guy could fight. He's a monster. He can probably take 50 punches before he goes down. So it's really, really interesting to me to see CM Punk do this, because he's not superhuman. He's good in the wrestling ring. If he can transfer that into a UFC career, amazing. And he's not getting any younger. There's a limited span of time that you can do stuff like that, especially when you have, like you said, a cracked skull, all the other injuries. So it'll be really curious to see if it'll pan out. So we've been talking about CM Punk a lot here, so we'll make this next part really quick. Nikos, will CM Punk ever work with WWE again?
My initial reaction is no. I think he's gone, and possibly gone forever. But me and you talked about this before, that maybe in 5 to 7 years, if Vince is still alive or still running the joint, maybe Punk would think for one last ditch effort. But if Triple H and Steph are running the show, then no, I don't. I think he's done. But my gut feeling is he's gone. I don't think he comes back.
Yep. Matt?
At all.
I think I should sit between the two of you.
I love trolling this kid. It's awesome.
I think if Punk were to come back, it would not be in a wrestling capacity for the WWE. Maybe announcing and probably Hall of Fame. It's the only two things I could see him doing, because he's not going to want anything to do with
The in-ring stuff.
the in-ring stuff anymore, because he already knows he's going to get shut down on it. So even if he were to come back, and if Triple H even allows him to come back, because after that podcast, the
No, not
word
so
goes
much.
around that old Trips isn't so happy with him.
Frankie?
Yeah, it's a good point. I would have to. Will he come back? Yeah, he'll come back. I'm not going to say no. I mean, was Hulk ever going to come back? No. Was Bret Hart ever going to come back? No.
Ultimate Warrior.
The Warrior,
They're
yeah.
all
Warrior,
back.
right.
They're
And-
all
Yeah.
back. And you know what? I mean,
It's all about the
There's
Benjamins.
always what I like to call the money ran out tour.
Yep.
And, eventually, no matter what the capacity is, from wrestling to announcing to Hall of Fame, you're going to come back to cash in that last time to get the money ran out tour,
Yeah.
basically.
All right.
But
like
that's why he married AJ, because
Does she leave
she's
now,
the
you think?
cash cow. No.
No,
I don't think
I
so?
think she sticks around. I think people are reading into it too much. SmackDown recently, she was saying comments like, you're going to miss me when you're gone. That she meant you're going to miss me after this segment when I leave the announce table. Everyone was all, oh my God, she's leaving.
She's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
No.
The Marks instantly, oh, she's going to leave.
No. She's not going anywhere.
She's just now getting into her career. She's way too popular. It's something she built up to her entire life. So I don't see her ditching just because she married Punk.
Yeah, and look at it this way too, guys. When you look at AJ Lee, do we all know that they're together? They're married. Absolutely. Has that ever been publicly put out on WWE? In any Monday night show, in any Friday night show, besides the fact that when she comes out on stage, the CM Punk fans start.
Yeah.
So Punk's a smart enough guy, and she's a smart enough gal to go, we're separated when it comes to our business entities. She's going to stay where the money is good, and he's going to go do what he wants to when the money is good. And the what happens down the road, yeah, I think he comes back eventually.
Do you think with the tension between CM Punk and WWE that is going to affect AJ's career at all? Do you think they can keep the individual separate, or is there going to be blood on AJ's hands because it's guilt by association?
I hope they don't stoop that low, because AJ's really good in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would put AJ up there with the likes of Lita and Trish Stratus. I mean, as far as her capability, but it's a shame because every time I see a diva come from NXT to the main roster, they suddenly can't do anything anymore, and it's kind of sad. So my real hope was to see a lot of the divas coming out of NXT become something great. I mean, Paige is doing well for whatever the hell they are telling her to do.
She's a 2-time Divas champion.
Exactly, but that makes me question how well Charlotte's going to do when she goes to the main roster, because it's just like Paige was doing so well and had such great wrestling capability, and now it's just like,
Who'd she piss off?
right.
She's skipping around the ring all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of interesting. Do I think AJ gets blood on her hands? Yeah, it's hard to say.
Good question, Mike.
It really is. I've thought
I hope
about
not.
that.
And I know we're going to talk about it in a little bit, is her and Nikki Bella's matchup coming up here. Mm-hmm. If she loses and then you see her less and less, there's blood on her hands.
Yep.
I mean,
and
it'll be quick. I mean, it's not something we're going to be talking about 3-4 years from now.
Right.
All of a sudden, what happened to AJ Lee?
Right.
Where did she go? I mean, you and I have talked recently, I mean, over the past couple of months, where I'm like, what happened to this diva? What happened to that diva? They're just gone.
Right.
Yeah.
And if she ends up just being gone, yeah, there's
There
blood
you
in the
go.
water.
Well, it kind of made me wonder, too, after the match that they had where the title initially switched hands. It lasted a whole, 25 seconds, and I'm like, ooh. So I kind of questioned it there, but the fact that they've been getting so much TV time, if they were going to shut AJ Lee down, I think it would have been a done deal already.
Alrighty, so moving on, we have the TLC pay-per-view this Sunday with a variety of matches. Boys, how you feeling about the card for TLC? And actually, it should be TLCS.
S.
Yeah.
Don't forget the stairs.
Who the hell? Who in the hell
Who the
thought
hell cares?
It's best for business, guys.
stairs? You're gonna have two goofballs throwing stairs at each other. Who the hell had to add a freaking S to it?
Stairs. I just love
I bet
how it
it-
says
yeah.
tables, ladders, chairs.
WWE tables, ladders, and chairs and stairs.
And stairs.
It's just like,
And it's just all of us staring aimlessly at the TV.
Yeah.
What the hell just happened? Where
Yeah.
and Vince McMahon is getting a boner in his office. I'm genius. I thought of putting an S out there for stairs.
Yeah, well, I mean, you probably shouldn't have put Big Show on that match if you want to make it entertaining.
No, actually,
so.
it makes the most sense to put them in that kind of match, I guess, but not really.
All right, so diving into the pay-per-view. for our kickoff match, we got The New Day versus Gold and Stardust. Anytime I see the name The New Day, I always think of Legacy's entrance music. It's a new day! It's a new day!
New day.
I'm not going to sing the whole song due to segment length, but what do you think about these guys?
I'll start this one off because this whole New Day and Golden Stardust, I so don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't care. The Goldust gimmick was great for 20 years ago.
It's crazy to think it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. And now we've got his brother Star. I mean, we were at Premier Pro Wrestling. We saw their little brother, Sawdust.
Colin,
Sawdust.
yeah,
tonight,
Sawdust.
I'm just so done with the gimmicks of both of this. Just done, and I don't care. I don't know about you guys.
Well, I was down for the Goldust when he came back and he fought for Cody's job. I liked that Goldust. I liked them when they were separate, not Stardust.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The New Day thing just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't want to understand it. They can just go away.
Well, then I can see the New Day kind of being like the modern Nation of Domination.
But how do you do that in
How
do you do that in a PG era? The Nation was, let's get down and let's have fun and let's go to church.
I don't see a Rock. I don't see a Farouk. I don't see any of those guys.
I think it's the New Day is pretty much just we don't know what to do with you right now, so we're going to stick you in this stable. And honestly, if they don't win at this pay-per-view, even though it's the kickoff match, they're not going to go anywhere, and it's just a temporary thing for the time being. As far as the whole Goldust and Stardust thing, I actually really enjoyed Stardust when he changed over because he needed something to kind of give him a push.
It's not enough to get him over into a world title picture, which eventually he needs to be. He's going to have to drop that gimmick. But it was a nice change to keep him going somewhere, at least in the meantime. The incredible thing about Stardust is there are so many people on the roster they could have did something similar with, and they would have failed with it.
Right.
He took that seriously.
He took it very serious. I mean, it's a total 180 for his character, which I give him huge kudos for.
And I would say, and it was a few months ago where Goldust and Stardust, it seemed like there might be problems between the brothers and trouble in the ranks, and I thought they were going for that split and breaking away Stardust, and all he did was go crazier.
Yeah.
I mean, he's insane. I mean, the Joker from Batman is a comedy in and of itself.
Right.
And he's going over the top with that. I mean, or not the Joker, the Riddler.
Right.
I mean, he's
you're right.
over the top Riddler.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's just... then that's where I say, I'm just kind of done.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of done with it.
I do agree with Frank on that. I think it's starting to finish its course with the whole gimmick.
That's why I hope New Day wins, and then they start some, like you said, dysfunction. I want to see the dysfunction between Goldust and Stardust to build up to WrestleMania, maybe.
And that's where Cody will come back.
Luke Harper versus Dolph Ziggler. This is a ladder match, and if I recall correctly, this is for the Intercontinental Championship.
It is indeed.
Who walks out of this?
Harper.
Yes, Harper, and I hope it's an epic Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon ladder match style. Like, I hope it really steals the show. I think it'll set the tone for the pay-per-view, because if this match sucks, I think the pay-per-view is going to suck. My opinion.
Yeah, I'm looking at the other end. I'm looking at Dolph. I think he's been riding high. I think the fans have really been behind him a lot stronger. Luke rode up high for a while there, and now it's starting. You can watch. It's not as big as it was, and I think if WWE's smart, they make Dolph win it, get his Intercontinental title back, and everything's good. But for me personally, I'd rather see Luke Harper go against Erick Rowan. To me, that's the match I want to see.
Right.
I mean, I understand why we're breaking it up between the former Team Cena and the Team Authority, but the one I want to see is Luke Harper and Erick Rowan.
Well, do you think with Ziggler's Survivor Series push that he got, that it would be okay for him to lose to Harper at this pay-per-view, since he got such
I'm not gonna say it wouldn't be okay.
You don't think it would hurt him?
I don't think it would hurt him. I just think the move that he's on right now, and Mikey, you and I were talking about this the other day. They are doing nothing with the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
They've got to do something with the Intercontinental and something with the United States Championships. This is a chance to push out Dolph Ziggler, put him in an Intercontinental. He's riding high right now. Everybody's loving him. I say you let him win it.
Nice. I think you could go either way with it. I can see Luke Harper maybe keeping it, and then maybe we get the Erick Rowan versus Luke Harper and make that for the Intercontinental. So two big guys going at it. They can make it very interesting. In my opinion, Dolph Ziggler has been so past that using the Intercontinental title as kind of a notch on your belt before you get to the World Heavyweight title. He's ready for that main event picture on a regular basis, which we've seen in Survivor Series, we've seen on Raw. Yeah. So I don't think he needs it. People are going to get pissed because he's losing at a pay-per-view, and everyone's going to go, oh, man, that's it. They're false start for Ziggler again. But I think he could lose this, and I think that they could make him a huge potential for maybe WrestleMania this year.
So I'm saying, if he loses, the match just needs to be this epic.
Oh, it's going
to
be.
Needs to be just
it's
like
going to be.
The match of the pay-per-view.
Like,
I hope so. Like, I really hope so.
In my mind.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Erick Rowan versus Big Show.
Bathroom break.
Yeah, steel stairs
That's
match.
what I have written.
That's it. That's the body break.
That's what I have. Blah. Don't care who wins.
I really don't care. I mean, Big Show has gone heel face so many times. There's no investment for me for this match, and even if Rowan loses it, I really don't care.
I think Rowan will win. Hopefully,
I hope that's the case.
I hope so.
Where can you go with someone with Big Show now? Because he's changed character so many times. I don't know. It's
he'll just cry.
Yeah, pretty much, and then he become face again in 2 weeks. Let's move on to the Miz and Damien Mizdow versus the Usos.
Frank?
Why you're going at me on this one?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I am so tired of the Miz. I love Mini Mizdow. I mean, I just do. But I think the Usos. You gotta. They're on riding a high, and I think while I found the Miz and the Damien Mizdow thing fun for a while, in my opinion, I'm just done with it. I'm over it. It's played too long, and I think it's just time to be over it. But in my opinion, I think the Usos pull it off.
My prediction and what I'm hoping for is that you finally see Mizdow explode. Mm-hmm. Damien Mizdow finally says, you know what, that's my Slammy, that one of those tag team belts are mine, and if you're not going to give me one, then I don't want it at all. He finally turns on him, setting up a feud later down the line for Miz and Mizdow to fight each other for a couple weeks, maybe in a pay-per-view match. Usos win the championships, setting up the next challenge coming for them, which is going to be the Ascension.
Ascension. Yep.
Yep. Next up, we got Ryback versus Kane in a chairs match. Anyone interested?
Break number 2.
Yeah, once again, blah. No interest whatsoever.
This is a
especially corporate Kane. Put your fucking mask back on.
Yeah, I mean, I keep waiting.
Stop wrestling in peace.
I keep waiting now that the authority's gone.
Right.
Put the freaking demon costume
back
on, please.
I'm done with the slacks and no shirt.
You don't like the pleats?
No. God, no. Like, at least when he didn't have the mask on before, he still had the tights on, and it wasn't that bad. He just looks like a friggin' idiot with the... not even go there.
I mean, just coming from a guy who, Undertaker, Kane, going back 20 years to when I was a kid, when they were, starting out, and I want to see Kane back as Kane.
Yeah.
But at the same token, I've been around and watched enough of this. The Ryback Green, I think you said earlier, and that's one of the problems. The other problem is that gimmick's been done. It was called Goldberg. And it doesn't impress me second time around.
Greenberg.
Yeah.
Jericho. Greenberg.
Honestly, I think that's the whole reason why they're sticking him with Kane in the first place, is because Kane can make anyone look good. And
learning experience, work with a vet.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think this is Ryback's last chance to prove himself.
Yep. Anyone disagree that Ryback is not going to win this match?
No.
No, I think he wins.
He wins. He was the first one eliminated at Survivor Series. He has to win.
Yeah. Next up, we got Nikki Bella versus AJ Lee. What's your guys' predictions for this, Nikos?
I just can't wait for some more NXT girls to arrive because Nikki Bella drives me crazy.
So the big thing with this has been, and they've kind of dropped this whole angle, it was Brie versus Nikki, and then Brie was like a service for Nikki for 30 days, and now they've suddenly dropped that, and Brie's pulling off those heelish moments again. So does it come down to Nikki Bella, AJ Lee? AJ Lee wins the Divas Championship because Brie turns on Nikki. They suddenly remember that angle, and Nikki thinks, "Oh, my sister's with me again," and then they feud again for some reason. Or does AJ Lee lose the match? Nikki retains the title. Brie and Nikki are celebrating in the ring, and Brie turns on Nikki then, and then the next pay-per-view at Royal Rumble, I guess, will be the Bella Twin Sisters, this time for the Divas Championship.
I see them dragging it out to WrestleMania with this angle. Part of me thinks, too, that this is kind of the dig on whoever said, if you have the Divas Championship, you're not going to be on Total Divas. Because there's a rumor going around that if you were on the show, they didn't want you having the title. And now all of a sudden Brie has the title. And it's just like, okay. She doesn't have the kind of talent. I'm not going to say they didn't work hard to, they have come quite a ways since the first time they came to the WWE, but watching their matches is still just like, eh.
So I'm saying I'd
You
rather.
mean wrestling talent isn't sexually transmitted?
No.
Oh, okay.
Like,
They
I'd
actually had to work
AJ
for
was
it.
right on that?
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
And don't you dare say anything about her boning Punk, because she had the talent before they even had started
Yeah,
doing
she
that.
got a little
lucky
more talent
bastard.
put into her.
Yeah, she did.
I was gonna say, like, why no Paige? Why no Natalia? Why not someone who can actually wrestle?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Filming Total Divas, Paige is the latest addition to Total Divas. Maybe
Is that why they?
maybe that's why she hasn't been in the picture lately.
well, see, I think they did that whole thing wrong too, because I mean their matches were good, but I don't know. I was kind of disappointed with that whole thing.
Next up, we got Rusev versus Jack Swagger
Bathroom break number 3.
for the United States title. Yeah, I mean, is it a bathroom break? Because we've seen this match before. It wasn't for the U.S. title, but we've seen this match before. What's any different about it from 6 months ago?
I feel like I've seen this match 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
Not
oh,
just
yeah.
And I think we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, at
We
least
have.
3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Basically, Swagger is
Shut up!
The only reason I'm going to watch the match is for her.
Lana.
Other than that,
I think Swagger's just a replacement for Sheamus, who got hurt again, who needs to come back as a heel, because I'm sick of his fella attitude and him being...
Oh, you look at the fella attitude as a heel too, won't you? Does he do that as a heel?
No, he's just a fucking prick when he's a heel, and I love it. He needs to go back to it.
yeah, I don't know who's going to win this one, to be honest with you, Mike.
Rusev.
I mean, yeah, maybe it's probably Rusev to keep his streak alive. But,
They'll feed him to Cena eventually.
yeah,
so
but I mean, I just don't care.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think it'll be Rusev versus Ryback for the United States title at WrestleMania.
At WrestleMania,
Yeah. Next up, we got Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt. Tables, ladders, and chairs. No stairs listed in this one, though.
Thank
I'm
God.
sure they'll make an appearance. How are you guys feeling about this match? Last pay-per-view they had a match that ended in a DQ. It was an okay match. Do you think this one's going to be better than their last match?
if they give him enough time, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good match. Who wins?
I think Wyatt, just because the Survivor Series, Ambrose I think Ambrose technically won.
I don't know how they approach this one, because both of them are so hot. I don't think a loss is going to affect either one of them. So it's hard to say who's going to get the upper hand this time.
I agree. It kind of goes either way.
Yeah.
You're getting to that period where you get two really hot stars and you put them in matches together, and it almost doesn't matter because they still develop their character further on. Really good example of that: Rock, Austin, Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah. Yep.
They traded it back and forth. And in all honesty, I would like to see either the Intercontinental title or the United States Championship on either Bray Wyatt or Dean Ambrose and having them feuded then, because it would make the match mean even more. I'd like actually to see the U.S. title on Ambrose, especially because he's had it before and really didn't defend it that much. Now that he truly is a single superstar, they really could put some prestige on that title. Unlike with Rusev, because everyone knows Rusev is going to keep winning.
Yep.
There's no, maybe Jack Swagger's going to get it this time because they've seen it before.
Yeah, my opinion on this one is I just hope it's a good match.
Yes.
I mean, I really don't care who wins it, but I mean, I've seen Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt phone it in. I've seen them wrestle well, and I've seen them just be there for the match. Just hoping it's a good match, because if it goes bad and you're talking right before the main card, ooh.
Right. John Cena versus Seth Rollins. This is a tables match.
This is one that Matt so does not care about.
And the stipulation for this is if Cena loses, he loses his number one contendership for Brock Lesnar's WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And Seth Rollins already has money in the bank. Right. He's already. What sense does it make to have him have two?
It doesn't.
So
Cena needs something to do.
You already know it's going to be Cena versus Brock at the Royal Rumble. So Cena obviously wins this match.
Well, do they make Rollins look strong, obviously, in the time being, or do they let Cena just go in there and just beat his ass and then set him up for Lesnar?
Well, and the problem has been lately, and what I've noticed lately over time is that Rollins is not doing as much as he was in the ring, as much as he's leaning on the two little guys behind him to do as much dirty work. Just as the old days with Dean Ambrose, everybody beating up on the one guy, and that's what they've been doing to Cena lately. It's he comes in, but then everybody else beats up on him too. So it's I don't think he loses anything in where he's headed if he loses the match in a true one-on-one with Cena, because it just shows that you've been letting everybody else beat you up. But I agree with Matt. I think Cena has to win because Money in the Bank's already there. I think you're getting to that point where we're gonna have to have Cena, Lesnar, one of them wins, and then Rollins cashes it.
Right, because what does Rollins have to gain from beating Cena?
Right, nothing.
Does Orton make an appearance?
I think that's
I think that's what causes the finish to happen. Orton, babyface Orton.
All right, guys. So moving on to something a little bit more local, we are talking about Premier Pro Wrestling. This is a local independent wrestling outfit out of Woodstock, Illinois. They've actually been located in a couple different places, but now their new permanent home is in Woodstock. And all of us here have experienced Premier Pro Wrestling in one fashion or another. So I kind of figured we could just kind of talk about our past history with it. Nikos, we'll start with you because I think you got the most interesting history with it, with the fact that was your first independent show.
Yeah, last time was the first time.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I mean, it was something completely different. I've only seen, I think I've seen one Nitro live, and I was up in the nosebleeds, and then the Raw that I saw didn't have very good seats, so I didn't get to really see anything up close, like them actually taking the bumps and them hitting each other. So it was really cool to see how they actually do work in the ring. And tonight, unlike last time, I didn't get to touch the ring or the ropes, but it was interesting seeing how actual stiff those ring ropes are. So I don't know. I was excited. It was a good time. I had fun.
Frankie, you've been to Premier Pro a few times.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. It's fun for a small local show. You do get a lot closer to the action. The bumps are there, the bruises are there, and man, when they screw up, you really see them screw up. And I think we saw a lot of that tonight. Where I thought, oh god, that guy's going to the hospital because that move just did not go well. The ones when they were in McHenry, much better crowd. I think better advertised. They had a girls division, which I think brought in a lot of people as well. Now it's just kind of this weird warehouse look to it, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, very limited on people. it was still cool. Don't get me wrong. I just think it was a better atmosphere when it was in McHenry than it is in Woodstock. I think maybe as they get bigger, people know where they're at. They start advertising a little bit more. It'll get bigger and better.
Matt?
It's always fun to go to little independent shows because people get absolutely crazy, and you kind of get to throw some of the normal rules right out the window.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That and being up close, while it's entertaining, it's cool to actually be able to sit down and watch and really study what they're doing in the ring. You know, for me, that's what I was doing when I was watching. I wasn't just watching for the fun. I was actually studying what they were doing and paying attention to, what they were doing in that ring and how they were working it. So it's a cool experience in that aspect too. That's just me.
Yeah, I've had a good time every time we've been to the show. I've always been with one of you guys. If it wasn't you, Frank, it was Matt, and if it wasn't you two, it was with Nico. So I've been to a couple different shows, and I really like, for the most part, just being that close to the action and watching those guys work in the ring, seeing just how different guys communicate with each other, how they take bumps, how sometimes they don't take bumps very well. But independent shows are just neat, and it's nice to support those independent wrestling outfits because they're stars in the making at these places. This Samurai Del Sol, who we all know now as Kalisto in NXT, who's the current NXT Tag Team Champions, one part of them. He was phenomenal when we saw him. Now, obviously, he didn't have his origin point at Premier Pro Wrestling. He's wrestled all around the world, but to be able to see that guy and see him work in a roller rink in your local town, and then all of a sudden he's with the WWE. It's amazing. It's just cool.
Yeah.
The same thing like seeing CM Punk's last match in Ring of
Right.
Honor and watching him start from the bottom of ECW and be the WWE champion for
432 days.
Yeah, not like you know the exact number.
Okay, Rain Man. Wow.
I think it was 400. I may be wrong. I thought it was 400.
434.
Something like that.
I don't know.
430.
How much is a candy bar?
It doesn't matter how much a candy bar is.
Oh. But
Pipe bomb.
Yeah, pipe bomb.
And the mic drop.
Overall, very cool at Premier Pro Wrestling. Randy Rickey is actually the proprietor of PPW. Worked in a variety of different federations. He worked for WWF. I think he was also a road agent or producer for TNA at one point. And we actually just got back from one of their pay-per-views tonight. We were going to record this podcast and talk a little bit about some of our experiences anyway, but it was cool to get the pro wrestling out of us as some fans and enjoy the show. I thought tonight's show was pretty good, definitely better than the last show that me and Nikos went to.
Oh, yeah. Way better.
Was it a bad? I mean, I didn't get to go to the last one with you guys. Was it?
It wasn't a bad show. It wasn't a bad show, but if apples to oranges, the oranges in this case won, bar none.
Okay, well that and then I guess that just serves to my point. I thought they were really good in McHenry, and then you say it was horrible the first or not apples to oranges. It was bad the first time you went to the Woodstock. Second time much better. I didn't see McHenry here tonight in Woodstock, but I could see where that potential is there. So.
Right. Anything else to say about Premier Pro Wrestling, guys?
I just hope we continue to go to the shows. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'll continue to support them.
I'd like to get a little more involved, and they do train people, so I wouldn't mind spending $100 to see if I can get my ass thrown around a wrestling ring.
Wait, what did you say?
I said I wouldn't mind spending $100 to get my ass thrown around.
Okay, I thought you said taking it in the ass. Yeah. I was like,
although there was that one guy there.
Yeah, there was. There was. That's very true. Very true. Alrighty then.
Other than that, I would just say if you're going to the Woodstock show, please bathe first because the guy I was sitting next to really needed a bath. That's all.
Soap saves lives, people.
Soap saves lives.
Just don't drop it. Oh.
All right, guys. So we always like to do something interesting on our podcast, especially when it's the first episode. We really like to try to keep things interesting. And this segment, we are going to book the main event at WrestleMania 31. So we're individually going to kind of put together our dream match for WrestleMania 31. And which one of you wants to go first?
So are we doing our dream 31 or what we think is going to?
I would say realistically
Okay.
within the
confines of what's currently going on.
All right,
Exactly.
then I have to rethink mine.
Sounds
Give me a
good.
minute.
I gotta say, it's got to me. I think you're gonna see a Roman Reigns versus a Brock Lesnar. I think you get to that point.
I definitely think that's the direction they're pointing towards. If it's not Brock Lesnar, if they can't agree to a new contract with the guy, Cena?
No.
Is it going to be Reigns versus Cena?
No, I'd say then you're Reigns
Please,
versus
no.
Rollins.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
All right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the way I see this happening is Reigns comes back, wins the Royal Rumble like he should have the year before because no one wanted Batista to win that.
No.
I think he wins the Royal Rumble. He's going to be the one that stops Lesnar. And I really, really hope they give Seth Rollins to be the first one to cash in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. Because that would be a hell of a twist to end a WrestleMania with Rollins cashing in.
It was huge at SummerSlam when Orton did it to Bryan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It set an entire angle up for a whole year.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that angle. That would be really good. That would really be good. But like you say, do they get him to sign that contract? Does Lesnar sign it for an extension?
Even if he does, though, are you going to continue to do the same bullshit we've done for the last few months? And, I'm the world champion, but I'm not going to be on TV.
Well, no, Mike and I were just talking about that 2 days ago. In that you got a champion who never shows up.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
What the hell is that?
And I mean, even after all of this, what do you do with Lesnar, anyways?
Yeah.
When this is all said and done, what's left for him?
Nothing.
WrestleMania
Yeah.
once a year for the next 20 years, like the Undertaker. But that's it.
Yep.
Let me see. My WrestleMania main event is probably going to go down like we keep saying. It's going to Reigns wins the Royal Rumble, takes out Lesnar because they wasted Undertaker's streak on that. And personally, I want to see Dolph Ziggler main event WrestleMania. Maybe he wins the Royal Rumble and beats Lesnar. How awesome would that be? Ziggler beating Lesnar instead.
That'd be cool.
Ooh, unless you put... Oh, God, I can't believe I just thought of that. I want to just, punch myself right now.
You put Cena in a match.
I
didn't
did.
you?
I
In your
just
head, you
did.
put
I
Cena
put
in a
Cena
match.
versus
Oh,
Dolph
my
Ziggler for WrestleMania. Cena ends up beating Brock Lesnar at Royal Rumble, and Ziggler ends up winning the Royal Rumble.
I hope so. I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't know. They just have to do something special with Lesnar. It has his loss,
Lesnar.
but his loss has to be to someone who is going to be elevated to the next level because you can't waste Undertaker's streak
Right.
on John Cena.
No.
You can't do it.
No.
I don't.
That's another reason why I see them giving it to Reigns, because not only is he winning the World Heavyweight Championship, but he beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, the man that beat The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what happens if he comes out in the Royal Rumble and doesn't get a reaction? Like, what if people are just like,
Reigns?
he probably will get a huge reaction.
He
Well,
came out at the slam,
Yeah.
he's in the crowd,
Yeah.
just exploded.
Yeah.
I know.
And he's been gone for
I don't know.
Couple months.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Here's my fantasy booking for WrestleMania, and this is Royal Rumble. Brock is not resigning his contract with WWE. WWE decides we can't have Brock Lesnar in the main event then. Cena beats Brock for the championship at Royal Rumble. Cena gets his 16-time world championship.
Beats
He's
Flair.
tied.
Or does he
I
beat-
think it's tied with Flair at that
Ties
point.
Flair.
That happens.
Oh, sickening.
It's not the end of the Rumble, boys, because
Seth
him
cashes
and
then.
exactly
Okay.
him and
Yeah.
Brock go at it. Cena and Brock go at it. Brock suplexes him 800 times. Cena manages to win. He's beat. Rollins comes out, says, "Hey, you know what? You beat me at TLC. I didn't get my opportunity. I'm guaranteed an opportunity with this. I'm cashing in now. Beats Cena for the championship. He's now the defending champion at WrestleMania. My pick for winning Royal Rumble, it's not Reigns. It's Ambrose.
Yes.
Ambrose wins the Rumble. Says, hey, we've had some history. You won at the pay-per-view because Bray Wyatt interfered. We still got some history to go at each other.
That would be a good match.
Ambrose, Rollins, main event for WrestleMania. Until Reigns comes in and says, you know what? If it wasn't for my injury, me and you, Rollins, we would have had that match. And I still have my contract signed for a match against you. So WrestleMania 31. Triple threat against all 3 Shield members.
Who wins?
Reigns.
Reigns.
You're going to go with Reigns because that's the direction that they're going. They want a big guy. But the possibilities for feuds after that point, you could have Rollins keep going for it. You could have Ambrose keep going for it. You could have Rollins and Ambrose continue their feud that they didn't finish, separate from the championship. And that's when you put Ziggler in.
Okay.
Against Rollins.
You know, I was going to say, I'm like, are you sure they would do another triple threat match at WrestleMania? But they stuffed Rock versus Cena 2 down our throats, so back-to-back WrestleMania, so I guess they would do it.
When CM Punk even said, he goes, you could have pinned me first, and I would have been perfectly happy.
Exactly.
Main eventing WrestleMania. He goes, I didn't even have to win, going back to Punk.
See, I love triple threat matches because it adds that. What are they going to do? Are they going to get, this year it was like, what if they did screw Daniel Bryan? They gave it to Batista and Batista won, or Orton retained. It's always that little extra thing that throws the suspension of disbelief in. It makes it interesting.
I still remember if Bryan would have won at WrestleMania, I would have been done with wrestling because I was so pissed off that Lesnar beat The Undertaker. I just could not believe that.
Well, as though I was just saying, I don't spend $9.99 a month, so I don't get to see NXT. These 3 guys do. So we're going to talk about the upcoming matches and what's going on with them.
Yep, that's right. We're going to talk about NXT TakeOver, Our Evolution, which is a funky name for pay-per-view. I wasn't too high on that. It sounds like a race car or something. I don't know. Re-Evolution. That was
Triple H's idea, I'm sure.
I took the words right out of my mouth. That was evolution.
Re-evolution.
Yeah. We'll just put a re on it. Okay, so we had a lot of great matches on this pay-per-view. To me, this was probably one of the most solid WWE pay-per-views I have seen this year, bar none. Super exciting. I guess we'll kind of reverse the order here because we have the NXT title match on the top. I actually want to kind of go with the beginning of the card. Kevin Owens versus CJ Parker. This is the debut match for indie star Kevin Steen, I believe is.
Yeah, it was Kevin. Yeah, it was
Kevin Steen.
Yeah. Holy shit. What a way to start out with a bang.
Yep.
I never really watched Kevin Steen prior, and I was wondering just how good he was, and talk about someone living up to hype. And he's a big boy. For someone to jump over the top rope like he did and crash down, it was pretty insane. He's definitely got talent, and I can see him going very far in NXT and eventually in the WWE.
No, I agree 100%. It was probably the best way you could debut into a company. It was awesome.
Hell of a snap power bomb that guy has. Hell of a snap power bomb. I mean, we at PPW watched a couple power bombs. This was like the impact was higher by like 500 times, man. It was like, you just killed this guy.
Yeah, it was brutal.
It was brutal. Speaking of brutal, during this match, CJ Parker, who is an Aurora, Illinois resident,
native,
did a palm strike to Kevin Owens during this match and busted him open. The hard way, broke his nose.
Oh no!
And there's a no color policy at WWE. When you break a nose, it's a gusher, man. And he was gushing out. But I mean, they did the playback on it. I mean, that palm was all up in Owens' nose.
Oh, yeah.
It was, but like a champ, man, he kept going.
Mm-hmm.
He kept going, and he won the match with an incredible snap powerbomb. But like you said, hell of a debut for him, and it was just the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we have Hideo and Finn Balor versus the Ascension. What'd you guys think of this match?
Well, let's just start off with the entrance from Finn Balor. It was awesome.
Not what I was expecting.
No.
At all. He came out and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I mean, I got like a mix of like he was a freaking Predator or something like that with the mask and the hair that he had and the paint that he did. I haven't seen anything like that since Sting, as far as it comes to being impressed with someone actually putting on face paint and actually having it really blend well with the character.
I was telling Frank this, and I was telling Nick, because that entrance gave me Undertaker entrance goosebumps. That was an entrance when he came out and he got in the ring, like, they could have done cartwheels in the ring for 20 minutes and not wrestled, and I still would have been like, oh my god, that entrance. It's just amazing. Like, obviously, I've heard that was his entrance when he was in Japan with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He would come out and do that. But not the makeup. I mean, the makeup added a lot to it, but it's like the perfect storm of everything. The lighting, the name on the Titantron, the music is very epic. It's very orchestrated. And what better way to enhance an entrance is by music. But doing your movements towards music, the poses and stuff, were just on time because he was very slow and plodding when he was moving, when the music was low key. And then when the music would hit up, he just bam, moved. The lights would kick on. I mean, just perfect entrance. And the match itself with the Ascension, just great overall. Lots of great spots. And
to the main roster they go.
Yep. Can't wait to see that. And it sounds like they're not going to make Finn Balor do that entrance for every match. I guess the recent tapings they did, he came out like normal. It's only going to be used for special events, which is good.
Which will be cool.
It gives you something to talk about, even if the pay-per-view ends up sucking. I mean, that whole pay-per-view could have been terrible, and I still would have been like, I'm glad I saw this. And it's an entrance, you know. NXT Women's Title match: Charlotte versus Sasha Banks. What do you guys think about this one?
Solid Divas match.
Yep.
Very solid from top to bottom.
Who won the match?
Charlotte. She retained the title. Is it time for her to go over to the main roster?
Yes.
Well,
it's been time.
On, last Monday night. Against
Natalya.
I mean, I was amazed at that girl. I mean, that is a girl that can wrestle and wrestle well. So, I like I said, I didn't get to see this pay-per-view, but
and she has
just
a pretty
seen her on
famous
Monday
following.
night. Holy cow!
Yeah, it's pretty amazing seeing her on Raw. And I was telling Nikos, I thought the reaction was hilarious because the crowd did not know how to react.
No, because
she was kicking Natalya's ass.
Yeah.
And the crowd was like, whoa.
Natalya can wrestle too. Like,
right.
It's not like she's.
Yeah, she made Natalya look like a little girl.
Yeah.
Charlotte's not short. She's a tall. That's a tall girl.
Very tall girl, yeah.
But
Very tall.
pulls it off very well.
Drink of water.
In all honesty, I really wish that Charlotte would have lost it, though, just because it kind of would have cemented that push that she'd be going over to the main roster. And I like Sasha Banks as a heel diva. She can wrestle. She's got that I'm a nasty bitch and, that title's mine kind of deal. I dig that. She reminds me of Melina.
Okay.
A better Melina. Next up, we got the Lucha Dragons versus the Vaudevillains. You guys know what a vaudevillain is? Like, what that stands for?
It was from the vaudeville days, right?
Exactly.
It's supposed to be like handlebar mustaches.
Yeah,
and
it's
putting
like
up your
that
dukes.
whole time. Well, like, I always hear people on Twitter like, what is that? Like, I don't get it. But they do that cool movie gimmick thing. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. That's
Exactly.
why the name works. This was my least favorite match, actually, on the card. Well, what do you guys think about the Vaudevillains, like, period? Do you see a lasting tag team in this?
No, I don't see the gimmick lasting at all. No.
People don't get it.
No.
I can't see it jumping over to the main roster.
No.
That Aiden English guy, when it's a step up for him doing this compared to when he was doing his Broadway singing, coming out like he. I know you're not familiar with NXT Freak, but he used to come out prior to being in this tag team group, with the beret and the spotlight on him, and he would sing like Broadway.
So it's not too big of a stretch to go to a vaudevillian actor.
Right. It kind of makes sense, but it was god-awful. He's not even a good singer. It's like, what was the diva who would sing? She was really bad. She was meant to be a joke off of Brooke Hogan. Jillian Hall.
Jillian Hall, yeah.
He was like the male Jillian Hall. Terrible. The match itself, it wasn't terrible. It was just
wasn't bad, but
fairly generic out of, the party platter that you had of really good snacks and goodies that you could eat. This was the stuff that no one was really touching.
Yep. I agree.
Next up, we got Adrian Neville versus Sami Zayn.
Awesome.
Holy crap.
Good match.
Insane match.
So good.
Solid wrestling overall in all aspects. Good high spots. Good mat-based wrestling. Good corner, turnbuckle, outside of the ring stuff. Back and forth, lots of false finishes. It was just a fantastic match. And a long time coming for Sami Zayn, because it's been like pretty much the last year and a half that he's lost title matches and potential opportunities to get title matches. And the stipulation with this was if he could not beat Adrian Neville this time around, he was done. And he managed to beat him this time and actually won the NXT title. I guess we could pretty much all agree that this was a really great match.
Oh yeah, it was
Definitely.
It was awesome.
Only thing that kind of took away from me, I knew he wasn't going to lose. I mean, he's too good. So I knew he was going to win the match, but the match that they put on, I'm sure had people believing that, oh shit, he might not actually pull this off.
Does Adrian Neville come to the main roster now?
That was just the question I was going to ask. Is it time for him, the main roster? And who do you put him with?
It's a tough question.
Personally, I hope that if they decide to keep the Intercontinental title on Luke Harper, make Adrian Neville first match in. Adrian Neville versus a big guy. High-flying moves work perfect on a big guy. Big guy can catch the small guy when he's doing his area moves. It makes a very cool dynamic. And if they don't want to keep the belt on Luke Harper, give it to Neville. It'd be a good way to catapult him, which is what they absolutely need to do with these NXT stars.
Oh, yeah.
Once they get on the main roster, they have to make an impact, just like they did
with the Shield.
Right. The Shield.
The Shield.
Paige won the Divas title right off the get-go. That's what they're going to have to do to make these guys believable, because they do have a very dry roster at the moment.
And
and that I will agree with you on. Not being in on the NXT side, but watching, Monday nights and Friday nights. Where is everybody? Everybody's gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, the matches are getting drier and drier, and I've seen this, and I've seen this, and I've seen this, and you do need some new blood and some new stuff going on.
At the end of the match, he wins the title, has a huge celebration, really cool feeling. Kevin Owens, El Generico, Kevin Steen, indie feds knowing each other really well, real life friends. Kevin Owens is hugging Sami Zayn, congratulating him on his title win, comes out back and forth, gives him a nice hug, kicks the holy crap out of him.
That was the sickest power bomb into a ring. You've seen how they'll power bomb them into the turnbuckle. Imagine getting power bombed like that into the side of the ring.
Ooh.
It was, when he did it, I'm like, oh shit! Did he drop him accidentally? I thought he was gonna power bomb him on the floor, and he just threw him into the ring. And that's not the softest. That's the hardest part of the ring, is right there on that corner. And I was just like, whoa. So not only did he make a great debut match, but he's already marked his target right from the get-go who he's after.
He's a top heel in NXT. That's kind of what NXT was missing. I mean, the only real heel character they had that had some kind of momentum to him was Tyler Breeze, which is it's a selfie gimmick,
right?
You know, I'm fabulous, I look good, and all you people are ugly. Give me the championship. You don't get this with Kevin Owens.
No.
He is a big badass mofo who is going to kick the shit out of you. It's perfect. Much watch TV.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna watch NXT next week for sure because I want to see what Sami Zayn's gonna do against Kevin Owens. I keep on saying Steen now.
Yeah. All these guys, even Finn Balor and Hideo Itami, and all had different names too.
And I think, like you said, it gives Adrian Neville a perfect out because the big focus is going to be Owens, Zayn. Anything else about the NXT or Evolution?
And it was just a solid show all around. I was very happy.
Keep them coming, Triple H.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we finally have reached the main event of this first episode of the Casual Mark podcast. I hope you guys enjoy this. I mean, we've talked about a lot of good stuff. Hopefully you stuck with us all the way through. I mean, just looking through the list here, we've talked about CM Punk, TLC, we've talked about some independent stuff. A really solid podcast for our first episode, I think, overall. Want to thank everybody for being able to come over here and record it. Frank, especially, because you kind of appeared out of nowhere. You were like Sting at Survivor Series, man.
I just flew in.
Any last things from you guys? Nikos, you got anything you want to close with?
I just want to say thank you to you for setting all this up.
Hey, not a problem,
appreciate
man.
it.
Not a problem at all. This is great to do. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Matt, what you got for us?
I'd like to thank our special guest over here for sticking it out.
Sticking it out, huh?
He's, you know, I may have to go to bed at 7 o'clock, but you're a lot older, so.
I
feel bad. I feel bad for you too. There's my stab back to you, buddy.
And I burn a lot more energy because I'm twice your size.
Yep. See, there you go. I'll fire right back. And I'd like to thank you too for the idea of starting a wrestling podcast. You know, as soon as I heard about it, I'm like, I'm in. I'm totally in.
Since we're throwing around thank yous, I guess we should thank Matt for the name of the podcast.
Oh, yes.
That was pretty creative.
Yes. Awesome name.
We'd
How
like
did that come up, by the way?
Casual Mark.
Yeah, Matt crapped his pants.
Yeah.
Oh, the casual? Cause
The casual.
He can't type.
That's
I thought it
Mike.
was the causal mark.
That's Mike.
Okay.
That's not.
Oh,
that's not me.
and the segments go from 5 to 8 too.
Well,
Did you
that-
see
Do they
that?
really?
Yeah, I thought that was
just
pretty funny.
him screwing around.
How did I do that?
Wow.
I just
You
noticed
know,
that. I must have been drunk when I wrote this.
probably.
This is a pretty good podcast if I was, though.
Yeah.
Casual Mark. How did you
Casual Mark. I was sitting here thinking about it, and originally it was going to be the Triple Threat podcast, but Mike made the point if someone can't make it and you only have two people talking on it, it doesn't really make much sense. So it actually took me.
Threat.
Shut up.
Sorry.
Shut up. But anyways, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, well, who's going to be listening to this? You know, you have your casual wrestling fan, and you have your marks. So I'm like, there it is. You know, we're going to be the middle ground between the full-blown mark and the casual wrestling fan, and kind of cater to both worlds.
Well, that's cool. No, that's cool.
So we're the middle ground.
Definitely. And, you know, we're just starting out, so obviously there's a lot of stuff that has to go into the show. I'd like to have a regular introduction, maybe a theme song. Maybe we'll do different songs throughout the entire scope of the podcast.
Entrance theme.
Entrance themes. There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
I like
we
that.
got a lot of great ideas. We had like a championship idea going around that Nikos introduced to us that we may be doing. And, you know, we're thinking about doing this monthly right now. You know, so much goes through the wrestling business in a month that it gives you some really good topics to talk about. Things change in an instant. Angles change. People die. Wow, that was terrible.
Tell us how you really feel.
But it's
Who's
true.
next?
It's true. It's
Sorry,
damn
man.
true.
It's damn.
But a lot of stuff can happen in a month, and it gives really good topics. Did I just say that? Did I say people die again?
I don't think so.
No, I just can't believe you said that in the first place.
I thought I was stuck on that. But yeah, we're thinking about keeping it monthly. If things change, if we can get together more on a regular basis, maybe we'll do it bi-monthly, bi-weekly.
By something.
Bi-monthly would be every 2 months.
Yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
something like that.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. But yeah, the plan is for a month, and we'll just keep bringing great content. Matt's working on putting together a Twitter page. He's already got a Gmail started up for it, so we'll start posting those things out. And you'll find this podcast hopefully on iTunes shortly. We'll start it over at GamerLogic.net just because that's kind of a hub for everyone, wrestling fans, gaming fans, and spread the word. That's the big thing. If you are a fan of wrestling podcasts, if you're a fan of wrestling period, and you like what we're talking about, send us an email and share. We don't have an advertising budget. I can only reach as far as I can into my internet fan basket for people to go, please listen to me. So share it. That's the biggest thing you can do. And the more people that know about it, the more we're inclined to do this. So, yeah. Anything else, guys? Awkward silence.
Awkward.
CM Punk wins his first UFC fight.
Of course.
CM Punk gets knocked out in the first 25 seconds.
You're gonna die later.
Okay.
Boys.
I raise you 25. Actually, I lower you 25 and say 10.
So
lose in 10 seconds?
10 seconds.
Let's do that.
I can name that knockout
wow.
in 5 seconds.
Oh, wow. They say 10
Wow.
seconds. knockout?
10
No,
seconds.
I said 25.
Oh.
Ring faster than that for 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
He slips and falls during introduction. I am the best in the world at falling on my ass.
Yep. Saturday night gets knocked out. Monday night, cult of personality.
Really ugly in your folks. So we should probably turn off the mics before we break them.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Casual Mark podcast. Man, I really did misspell that,
Yes,
and
you
I
did.
can't number. Next time, they'll be better. It was a good idea. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Good night.